Alex Eala is only $1,385 away from $3 million in career prize money. Not $100,000. Not $50,000. Just $1,385. That sounds almost impossible when you remember how long it takes a professional tennis player to build career earnings at this level. Years of tournaments. Years of travel. Qualifying rounds. Main draws. Wins. Losses. Small checks. Big checks. And now, Eala is standing almost exactly on the $3 million line. But here is where the story becomes much more interesting. Cincinnati lists $26,255 at the round of 64 stage. That is more than 19 times the size of the gap separating Eala from $3 million. For this calculation, the current career figure and the Cincinnati payout are being treated as separate numbers. That means the bigger Cincinnati totals are projections, not money already collected. But look at the scale. Current career prize money, $2,998,615. Distance to $3 million, $1,385. Cincinnati, round of 64 figure, $26,255. If that amount is added to the current career total, the projection becomes $3,024,870. Suddenly $3 million is not somewhere far in the future. It is behind her. And Eala would be almost $25,000 beyond it. But that is only the first level of the Cincinnati prize money ladder. Move one round deeper and the listed figure becomes $47,375. That would put the projected career total at $3,045,990. Reach the round of 16 and the listed prize money rises to $81,752. Projected career total, $3,080,367. Quarterfinals, $154,210. Projected career total, $3,152,825. Semifinals, $297,315. Projected career total, $3,295,930. Reach the final and the listed amount becomes $564,920. Projected career prize money, $3,563,535. Think about how quickly that changes. We started with $1,385. Then one tournament opens the possibility of hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is what happens when a career moves into another level of professional tennis. The numbers stop moving slowly. They start jumping. One round matters. The next round matters even more. Then one deep week can change the financial shape of an entire season. But there is a problem. None of those projections can win a tennis match. Eala still has someone standing directly in front of her. Elena Gabriela Ruse. And Ruse is not arriving quietly. She just defeated Magda Linette in straight sets. 6-0, 6-3. That should immediately change the way this opening match is viewed. Ruse already has competitive rhythm on these courts. She already has a win. She already knows how the ball is moving in Cincinnati under match conditions. Eala has something different. The ranking. The seed. The expectations. Eala enters Cincinnati ranked number 20 inches the world. She is the number 17 seed. She arrives with a recent WTA title. And she enters with much more attention surrounding every result than she carried earlier in her career. So, the contrast is fascinating. Eala has the ranking. Eala has the seed. Eala has the headline. Ruse has the fresh match. Which one matters more when the first ball is struck? That is where the money story ends and the tennis story begins. Because $1,385 sounds tiny. Ruse is not. And if this kind of Eala story is why you are here, subscribe and stay with this one, because the number that matters most is not $3 million. There is another number coming. And it changes the entire story. Earlier in her career, Eala could walk into major tournaments with a very different type of pressure. She was often the player trying to prove she belonged. Beat a higher-ranked opponent, and it became an upset. Lose and the conversation could return to development, potential, experience. The future. That changes when the number beside your name becomes 20. Now there are matches people expect you to win. Now, opponents see your ranking and understand what beating you would mean. Now your name becomes one of the names other players want on their result sheet. Beat Alex Eala. Beat the world number 20. Beat the recent Washington champion. That is motivation. And that is the hidden cost of climbing. The money rises, the ranking rises, the attention rises, but the target becomes larger too. That is why this Cincinnati match matters beyond $1,385. The check does not win the match. The ranking does not win the match. The seed does not win the match. Eala still has to solve the player across the net. And if Ruse starts the match striking the ball with the same confidence she showed against Linette, Eala could be under pressure very quickly. Ruse has already felt the competitive conditions. Eala has had the first round bye. That bye has obvious benefits. Less physical stress. More time to prepare. But there is another side. Ruse has match rhythm. There is always a difference between practicing points and playing points that actually decide whether you stay in the tournament. That creates the first real question of Cincinnati. Can Eala immediately play at the level expected from the number 17 seed? Because the story around her has become much larger. World number 20. Seed number 17. Recent champion. Filipino fans watching every result. $3 million sitting almost directly in front of her. And the US Open waiting after Cincinnati. There is opportunity everywhere. There is also almost no quiet space anymore. Every win becomes evidence that the breakthrough is real. Every loss creates questions about what comes next. That is a very different career from the one Eala was living before this rise. Success gives you bigger stages. Success also removes places to hide. If Eala beats Ruse, many people will say the higher-ranked player did what she was supposed to do. If Ruse wins, the result immediately becomes louder because of the ranking difference and everything surrounding Eala right now. There is no completely comfortable outcome. That is what happens when expectations change. And this is where the $3 million headline can fool you. Financially, $3 million suddenly looks incredibly close. Competitively, nothing is close until the final point is won. That is why the next number matters even more. 54.5%. More than half. The career prize money figure used in this story is $2,998,615. The listed 2026 prize money figure is $1,634,930. That means roughly 54.5% of the career total has come from this season alone. That is the real shock, not $3 million. Acceleration. Before 2026, the remaining portion of her career prize money was roughly $1,363,685. Think about what that represents. Years of development. Junior success. Professional tournaments. ITF events. Qualifying draws. Travel. Early round matches. Building a career piece by piece. All of it together produced roughly $1.36 million before this season. Then 2026 happened. And this season alone has already produced roughly $1.63 million. That is about $271,245 more than the entire portion of her career prize money that came before 2026. That is not normal, steady growth. That is a change in scale. $3 million sounds like the achievement. It is not. $3 million is the checkpoint. The real achievement is how quickly the economics of her career have changed because the tennis underneath those numbers has changed. Earlier in a career, a player can win matches constantly and still watch prize money grow slowly. The events are smaller. The payouts are smaller. A successful week helps. But one week does not always transform the entire financial picture. Then the ranking rises. Bigger tournaments become part of the schedule. The prize pools get larger. A few rounds at the right event can suddenly be worth what once required several successful weeks. And if that player starts going deep consistently, the curve changes fast. Washington is the clearest example. Eala won the tournament. The listed prize money for the title was $252,000. One tournament. $252,000. Compare that with the roughly $1.36 million from the portion of her career before 2026. One Washington title produced close to 1/5 of that entire amount. That is how dramatically the scale has changed. Then came Toronto. Eala reached the round of 16. The listed prize money for that stage was $81,800. She did not need another title for the financial momentum to continue. She simply needed another meaningful result at a major event. That is the pattern. Washington changed the scale. Toronto showed that the scale did not immediately disappear. Cincinnati now asks whether it can continue. And that is why I want to know how you see this. Which number surprises you more? The $1,385 separating Eala from $3 million? Or the fact that roughly 54.5% of her current career prize money has come during this season alone? Tell me which one hits harder in the comments. Because the answer says a lot about what kind of breakthrough you think this really is. Most people measure a tennis rise through ranking. That makes sense. Ranking changes entry. Ranking affects seeding. Ranking shapes draws. But prize money can reveal something different. It shows how valuable the stages have become. One incredible tournament can create a ranking jump. Repeated prize money growth across multiple major events can show that a player is continuing to reach valuable rounds. That distinction matters. Washington alone could have been remembered as one magical week. Tennis produces those stories all the time. A player catches fire. The draw opens. Confidence builds. Everything works. Then the next tournament arrives and the momentum disappears. That is why Toronto mattered. Eala did not win Toronto. She still reached a valuable stage. Then Cincinnati arrived. Now she enters as the number 17 seed. That position itself tells you something about how much her status has changed. She is not arriving only as an exciting young player with potential. She is arriving as someone other players are trying to beat. There is a huge difference between chasing established players and becoming the player someone else wants to knock out. That is the next phase of her career. Not proving she can produce one big result. Proving she can live with the expectations created by repeated big results. And Ruse is a perfect first test. Ruse just beat Linette without allowing more than 3 games in either set. She has already won on these courts. She has nothing to gain from treating Eala like a superstar. For Ruse, this is simply another opportunity. Attack. Apply pressure. Force the higher-ranked player to prove why that ranking exists. That can create a dangerous opening period. Eala may need to establish control early. Not through reckless aggression. Through discipline. Protect the serve. Avoid giving Ruse easy looks at second serves. Use depth to prevent Ruse from stepping inside the baseline too comfortably. Make Ruse play one more ball. Make her prove that the level from the Linette match can survive against a different opponent. The psychological battle matters too. Ruse comes in after winning. Eala comes in carrying expectations. If Ruse starts fast, the crowd and the scoreboard can make the match feel more dangerous than the ranking suggests. That is where Eala needs to look like the favorite. Not because she has to dominate every rally. Because she has to remain stable when the match becomes uncomfortable. The next version of Alex Eala will be judged differently. Earlier, resilience after losing a set could be viewed as impressive development. Now, resilience may be required simply to protect her position. That sounds harsh. But that is what success does. It moves the standard. And the financial curve is connected directly to that competitive curve. Higher ranking creates access to bigger tournaments. Bigger tournaments create bigger prize money opportunities. Better results create more ranking points. More ranking points help maintain access and seeding. Then the cycle begins again. But the cycle can move both ways. Keep winning and the numbers rise incredibly quickly. Lose early across several tournaments and the momentum slows. That is why $3 million should not be treated like a trophy. It does not prove what happens next. It simply shows how far the career has already moved. The future still depends on the tennis. And that brings everything back to Cincinnati. The gap is $1,385. That is a great headline. But it is not the whole story. The whole story is speed. More than half of the current career prize money figure came during 2026. Washington added $252,000. Toronto added another meaningful result. Cincinnati now presents another WTA 1000 opportunity. This is no longer a player slowly approaching a milestone. This is a career moving through milestones faster than before. 3 million sounds like a destination. For Eala right now, it looks more like a checkpoint. But first, Ruse. That part cannot be skipped. Ruse already has the Cincinnati win. Eala still has to win points. Still has to protect serve. Still has to handle pressure. Still has to solve the match in front of her. No prize money projection removes that reality. And maybe that is exactly why this moment is so fascinating. Eala is standing between two versions of her career. Behind her is the player who spent years trying to reach this level. Ahead of her could be a player who spends full seasons competing inside the biggest events in women's tennis. $3 million sits almost perfectly between those two worlds. If she advances in Cincinnati, the conversation changes quickly. 3 million. Then 3.1 million. Then 3.2 million. Then 3.3 million. And after Cincinnati comes another enormous stage at the US Open. But nobody knows how steep this curve becomes from here. That is the real open question. If 2026 has already produced more than half of the current career prize money figure, what could the next 12 months look like? 4 million? 5 million? Something even bigger? Or does staying near the top become much harder than reaching it? That is the next chapter. The $3 million line may disappear very soon. But once it does, the most interesting question will not be when Alex Eala crossed it. The question will be how far she can go after it. If you want to follow that answer through Cincinnati, the US Open, and whatever comes next, subscribe. Because $3 million may be the headline today. The trajectory is the real story.